family reading, it feels very different. And I think my experience as a parent is that it very much depends on what teacher your child happens to land in. So, one teacher might take a very broad stroke on Black History Month and be very active in teaching. I knew another student at the Sanibel school who came home and told his parents that he learned in school that white people were slaves too. So, it is a very different, you get very different perspectives depending on who the teacher is. So, Laura, what was your experience being a teacher and a parent in that environment?
Just as a teacher, this year I had parents that wanted me to write down every single book that I was going to read for read aloud so that they could preview them. And I thought, I'm a kindergarten teacher. We're reading books all day. I'm not going to tell you every single book I'm, reading. I'm a professional and I'm not going to do that. But I do agree that it depends on what teacher you have. And just as a parent, I was pretty much able to, as a teacher, I could cherry pick who I wanted for my kiddo's teacher. And so I kind of knew their beliefs, and I kind of could put my kids in that class. But I have one quick story. I remember the first year I was there, I taught in a different grade level, and it was right after Trump was elected. And one of my kiddos, whose dad happened to be on the city council at the time, got his friends, and they put their arms, they kind of blocked in this little girl from Ecuador, and they sang, build a wall, build a wall. And the other teacher that I taught with was laughing. And I just thought, this is not how it should be. So after that experience, I made sure I could cherry pick who I wanted for my kiddos teachers.
Oh. So. Yeah, Maddie?
Well, I'm really interested to hear both Laura and Laura talk about, because we know that the Florida Citizens Alliance that Sharon has been talking about, and Moms for Liberty and so on and so forth, they're on the PTAs, just like they wanted to be on the library board in Sanibel. So I'm curious as to what kind of power they have. Like, what happens at these PTA meetings? How do they stir people up? What goes on with those people who are trying to influence in a more reactionary way? If that's
so my experience with them, and full disclosure, Mrs. Wolf was my son's kindergarten teacher last year, and both of the moms that ran for the library board are in my son's class. Their older children are in my son's class, and Tiffany's son's class as well. And there's only one first grade.
She had a kindergarten made up of very politically active parents from very different political sides.
Sounds like it.
Poor Mrs. Wolf had to balance the gamut of Sanibel parents last year in kindergarten. It's probably why she ran to California. It was too much. But I think their reach is actually very limited, at least on the islands, but their perceived power is much greater because they're very, very loud. Mm-hmm. They're very, very loud. They show up to everything, and they appoint themselves to positions of power upon showing up to everything. One of them is the chairperson of the SAC committee, which makes her then the Sanibel school representative to the district advisory committee as the chairperson to the SAC committee. She was the only person who showed up to the first meeting because there was no notice for the meeting, and she was the only one who could go, and so she volunteered, and then she gets this perceived position of power. Right. But the community has shown them over and over and over again, when the community gets a voice against them, that people are not with them. So I think that even though, she self-appointed herself to the Sanibel School Fund Liaison committee to the district as the chairperson. And so now she has this direct line to Superintendent Brenner, and she calls him anytime she doesn't like something that the administration at the Sanibel school does. And
She calls him?
Oh yeah. We're losing our principal. She's retiring. And there's a new procedure for hiring principals in the district that Dr. Brenner instated. And part of that procedure is a committee that includes a parent from the school. The parent from the school is appointed by the school's administration. The Sanibel School administration made a great choice in appointing Liz Abbott, who was a Sanibel School student herself and has a child who went to the Sanibel School from kindergarten to now being in 7th grade. So, lots of experience, lots of qualifications to be this person, but she's very left. And Jude didn't like it. And so she threw a temper tantrum, and now she's also on the principal selection committee. Brenner made an exception for her and is letting her also be on this committee to, represent all parents at the Sanibel school. And because she is loud and makes it appear that she does represent all parents, it appears that she has a lot of reach, but I think the community has shown over and over again that the reach is limited.
But if she's calling Dr. Bernier every time the principal does something she doesn't like, and then he accedes to her wish to be on the committee to select the new principal, I would say she's actually doing pretty well for herself. I mean, people might think she's very annoying, but she's got these positions.
Yeah. I mean, I think within the district, she's getting more reach. But if we think about like the hyper local community on Sanibel, her reach, her reach is more limited. Like the parents at the, there was a meeting with the, I forget who it was, somebody from the district who's involved in the hiring process for the principal. The parents were open to attend to talk about, the qualities we want in a principal.
Right.
And, she kept saying transparency, it's her buzzword. But really what she does, what she wants is she wants to know what's happening so she can contest it and control it. That's not transparency.
No.
Transparency is knowing what's going on, understanding, but that was her big buzzword. Everybody in the room is describing the current vice principal at the school. She doesn't want the current vice principal at the school. She wants somebody else because the current vice principal has stood up to her the way the principal has. And, so she doesn't want current administration. So she's trying now to control this process. Luckily, Liz Abbott, who's also on this committee, is very strong, and I think is a good opponent in this setting. But she in the school district is where she is gaining the most traction for sure, and I think she will run for school board.
Oh, sure, right. I mean, why not? She's run for everything else, right?
Yeah,
So.
yeah. But I think unlike the stuff on where only Sanibel gets to vote, she could maybe win. When only Sanibel is voting, she doesn't win. But I think if it went to the larger community, she can be